Hey, so you might notice that this is a re-upload. Essentially what happened is that we've been having some copyright issues from the moment that I first tried to upload the video. Um, it was just getting caught by their content ID scanners, and as a result the video was automatically being blocked in all countries. I tried to dispute the initial video. That didn't work. As a matter of fact, they just completely ignored it. ShowPro did, because the video wasn't public. They didn't care. Like they saw that it was private, and they just didn't even bother responding to us. And as a result, I ended up uploading the initial video 5 different times before we finally found one that wasn't immediately taken down. And then last night, the video was hit again by the same copyright company, saying that we're using their content and that we can't put up this video. So it's been immediately blocked in all countries. I tried to dispute that, trying to keep it public. It was immediately made back public again as soon as I first filed the dispute. But because it was public, ShowPro immediately responded to us, making sure that it was taken down again. Tried disputing it, going through the proper steps, going through everything that we could, and it just wasn't working. I was trying to get YouTube involved, and I guess because we were just such a small channel, they just weren't looking at it. It wasn't on their radar, and I was just dealing directly with ShowPro. And after looking into it, they're very infamous for this kind of thing. There was one 20-minute video that another user uploaded where they used 1 second from a Pokemon movie, and the entire video was taken down. As a matter of fact, they were also given a copyright strike immediately. Like, we got the chance to at least dispute and try and prove ourselves, and they just ignored it. But they gave us, we had the chance to not get the copyright strike, so there was that. So yeah, this whole thing just kind of sucks. I'm probably not going to support Pokemon for a while. But regardless, I hope you enjoy the kind of raw-ish version of what you're about to see without the actual Pokemon clips. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hot Swappable Gaming, this time with a brand new show, our little amateur hour corner over here that we are calling Hot or Swap. Because, of course, you got to get that brand name recognition in there. So, of course, I am Connor. To my left is Zach.
It's weird because on my screen I'm on the right. So.
Yeah, and to his left you will see Mike.
What's
up? So, basically, what this show is we are going to review some form of pop culture, some form of media, and then give a very fickle review on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, a movie, we'd watch the movie all the way through, give a blah, 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 whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or a show, we wouldn't always watch the whole show. We might just watch the first few episodes and be like, is this worth your time? We don't feel like it. Or maybe, yeah, absolutely. And so with that said, the movie that we are reviewing today is Pokemon. But he only prepared 3 proper Pokemon? Is Pokemon I Choose You.
Like the first episode? Or like the movie?
Well, it was a whole movie. You watched episode 1? Because on Bulbapedia it also had that as well, and I was like, this isn't right. This is original. No, so to clarify, we watched the first, not the first, it's the 20th movie, but it's Pokemon I Choose You, the newest movie that came out. I think it was late 2017, or was it this year?
It was 2017.
It's 2017.
That's what I thought. And so, yeah, we thought, Pokemon was a big part of all of our lives growing up. Might as well start there, and it's still pretty fresh, and a lot of people still actually haven't seen it, so we felt it was pretty relevant. So that being said, let's get started.
And with that being said, keep in mind, this will also obviously be spoiler heavy. So if you've got a problem with that, I don't know why you're still here. But now it's time to check yourself at the door. My original plan was this is where we'd put in a brief synopsis from Crunchyroll. Fun fact, I didn't see this movie on Crunchyroll to steal the synopsis from.
No, it is not.
So I figure we'll just do a quick synopsis of everything I remember, where the quick story rundown is, it's Ash starting off just like in episode 1 of Pokemon, also named I Choose You, where he gets his Pokemon, he starts his Pokemon journey to, be the greatest Pokemon trainer in the world, which he definitely achieves all the time, 100%. Ends up meeting some friends along the way and starts chasing after these legendary Pokemon in situations where he finds himself just at the forefront of.
Absolutely. So I think that sums it up, but that's kind of where I want to get to right there, what you just said. It's kind of like episode 1, except in my opinion, it's like in the first 10 minutes where it started to piss me off.
This started to piss you off.
How the hell
Right.
can you completely write out Brock, Misty, and Gary? You are wanting to give the origin story of Ash, getting his Pokemon, and you start it pretty damn similar. But you're going to write out 3 of the most, I think, iconic side characters, at least of our generation, I'd say. Nowadays it might be like May and all them, but you kidding me? That when I saw it was like Verity, I think it was her name, Verity, and is it Sorrel? Sorrel. I was like, I mean, I like them. Don't get me wrong, I like them. They didn't piss me off too much. There's one thing about Verity that I'll get into later that I didn't like. Mike, it looks like you got something you want to say right here.
No, counter was good. I'll jump in afterwards.
What was I going to say? Oh, I remember. Well, look on the bright side. At least they had Erica.
GG.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think it. I read somewhere before I watched this movie, like, you should probably take this with a grain of salt, and I did, because like it started, like you said, you're like, yeah, it started off as an origin, like, okay, yeah, I remember this battle that came on TV on the first episode. All right, cool, nostalgia. And then it just kind of diverged a little bit. I feel like they did a good job of keeping like some of the elements from the original story in there, and kind of take it from the approach of, there's all these new kids, and this is decades later. There's a whole new generation of children who've been introduced to Pokemon, and I think this is more so aimed at them, but kind of giving that nostalgia factor for all of us. That's how I feel like that was their aim or their goal, in my opinion.
But they were almost point for point on the first episode. I mean, they even got Pidgey and him throwing a rock and hitting Sparrow, and them chasing him, and Pikachu leaping off his back and doing the big thunderbolt. And that's when we're supposed to find Misty. Nope.
Which, of course, doesn't happen. He falls instead down a cliff into a river.
Yeah. Instead of off the wall. I think it was a waterfall.
Something I can't remember exactly. Something like that, yeah. So I have a few issues with the first part of the movie as well. I pretty much consider there's part 1, which is everything before they encounter Entei.
Okay. Before Entei. Okay, because I got a lot of stuff after that.
So, which, like you said, it was very similar to the OG Pokemon, where Ash, he wakes up, he sleeps through his day where he's supposed to get his first Pokemon. But there's something that pissed me off before even getting to not seeing Gary, Misty, or Brock, and that's, why is Professor Oak still just such a terrible Pokemon professor? He specifically says that he knew that there were 4 trainers coming his way.
I said the same thing.
I was thinking the same thing. Will poop. You actually showed up.
And then, like you said, it's almost note for note the exact same as Pokemon Episode 1, with the exception of Misty.
One more exception.
What's that?
The Pokédex.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't get it, does he?
Yeah, like when Ho passed, I was like, oh, that's the point where Pokédex is like, oh, this is an unknown Pokemon. And I was like, okay, cool. That just adds like that little effect in there. Like, oh, this is like a real special moment here. Like, that's something like nobody has seen.
Now remind me.
Nobody.
In the original episode, did he get the rainbow feather?
No.
That wasn't right?
I don't think so.
Right. Okay.
And that's the final big point of that little first arc there, is he gets Ho-Oh's feather, which is later dubbed the Rainbow Wing, and ends up being a huge plot point of the movie.
Don't even get me started on that. So
Please, go ahead.
one thing I will say before we move on to about Entei, right?
I still have
Cross.
a little bit more as well.
Okay,
So if
that's
you want me
fine.
to take this first, or if you want to do yours.
Well, mine isn't like anything about the plot. It's Cross. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's
ahead.
super cool.
I
Okay,
didn't expect that.
I wasn't upset. I mean, I was upset that Gary wasn't there because I love the Gary smells thing, but like Cross was very much. He's more badass than Gary is what he is. Like he's like
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I mean, Gary is the lead, right? He is lead.
He's the GOAT.
He's the goat.
This man
He's the
had
greatest
a
of all
convertible
time.
at age 10.
Cross was
And
cool, but
cheerleaders.
I thought Cross was cool. And later I'll allude to this, but like near the end, he seemed more to resemble N from the newer Pokemon games. I think Black and White is when N was first introduced. I'll get to that later.
Yeah,
But-
we'll get there.
But I like this anti-hero more than original. I actually liked Cross quite a bit.
Okay. Hey, you and I will be feel free to disagree on that matter.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So as it's building up to the Entei aspect of this, there's also like a little montage where it's him, just kind of going through Kanto and its new shape for this movie.
Oh yeah.
Catches Caterpie, all that jazz, blah blah blah. But it has also the same classic Pokemon opening, albeit with a different singer.
He was
Mhm.
cool, though. He did
And there's one other issue I just want to criticize real quick. Why the fuck is it that when he fights Erica and he beats her and gets his badge, why is it his third badge?
So I tried to move past it, but I kind of did, but it bothers me a little bit. But I'm just trying to roll past it.
See, I didn't catch that until now. I didn't realize that. Like, yeah, that was his third badge. Wow.
It specifies like he's handed the badge by her. She's like, "Yeah, this is my third Pokemon badge."
You're
So-
right.
The fuck?
So you traveled from
Who'd you skip?
Solid Town.
You skipped a lot, man.
One of them was Pikachu.
But- So then he goes into a Pokemon Center in this new town, and that's where a kid comes in with their fainted Pokemon, saying that they lost to Entei. Which, of course, everyone's like, "Holy shit, Entei! I'm gonna go not learn this kid's lesson. I'm gonna go try and beat the shit out of that Pokemon."
Okay, real quick. So at this point, we're starting to see that there's a lot of people, and this is kind of where we truly see that they've brought in Pokemon from every generation, and now they're in every region. I personally didn't like that.
I was fine with it.
I understand it's possible. I understand that in Pokemon now it does make sense because at the time clearly they hadn't thought of all those Pokemon. But as the inner kid and nostalgia in me, I didn't want to see all those newer Pokemon. I liked it. I want the original 151 technically. Let's keep it there. And then they mentioned N10. I'm like, all right, they're bringing in everything.
You guys mind if I backtrack just a little bit?
Oh,
Right,
please.
go ahead.
Because
I don't know where everyone's notes are, so.
It's I don't actually have any notes. I just like try to remember as much
See, I
as
got
can.
notes.
I have notes following up, just like plot line development.
That shit. I just want to point out that like as far as because that was the biggest thing for me is like it was a better movie, or I guess it scored more points for me because of some of the nostalgia factors. And I think one of the biggest ones, like early on, when like there's that build up from Kanto region in the earlier moments of the show, was the Butterfree moment where he the send off. Now it wasn't exactly the same.
There was
Well,
no emotion.
That's later in the movie as well.
That is later in the movie. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like really far off in the movie. So if you want to get to that part,
Yeah, see, I have that
Okay,
written
Matthew.
down too. But like, all right, so like regarding all that, one thing I was upset with, and this isn't really a plot point, but throughout the whole movie, the iconic battle scene is not there. There was no Metapod versus Metapod battle.
You what?
One thing I will say though, once we did see them evolving, I thought that was pretty cool. That mid-fight that they evolve. That's not how it works. That's not how it works in the games, and whatever. But I thought that was pretty cool. That mid-fight. Oh, a puny little thing, and then, oh crap, here he comes. It's big now. So that's pretty cool.
That's also still further ahead in the plot.
I understand. All right,
so back to following it more line by line real quick. So obviously they go and try and catch Entei, and Entei is exactly what I hoped a legendary Pokemon would actually be in the movie.
Yes.
Which is he's a badass. He literally just brushes them off. He sends the Pokemon off with a single attack, and he's like, all right, that's good. Now you understand my power. Leave me be.
What do they do?
Let's have a Pokemon battle.
So my biggest issue with Verity is to fight Entei is she used Piplup, but she clearly had a Lapras, because in the future she does pull out a Lapras, and both Sorrel and Ash are surprised.
All right, so real quick, that Piplup not only had Ice Beam, that Piplup had Whirlpool. I'm pretty sure it had Surf. I don't have any doubts there. That Piplup was probably like level 60. I think she was confident.
I get it, but it doesn't. I mean, it could have had an Everstone. For all we know, it's like 99 because it never evolved throughout the whole thing. Whereas Ash had like 4 evolve. But that was the biggest thing. But nonetheless, my biggest issue with pulling in Entei, don't get me started on Raikou. It's Raikou. And Suicune is, it seems like they're getting rid of everything before this movie now. They're getting rid of the original movie. They're kind of trumping number 3, clearly with the legendary dogs. And then it's mentioned, I mean, clearly Ho-Oh was eventually a big prominent part of this movie. So therefore they're kind of trumping number 2 when in the end as well they mention Moltres and you even see Lugia. I mean, so it's like they're just restarting the whole series. And that's something that, yes, I like the graphics better, well, I guess technically, yeah, graphics, the animation style more. But nonetheless, I like those movies.
And I like them too, but it also could be maybe they've got other ideas in the works. Maybe we'll just see them in a different situation. Maybe instead of Mewtwo being the badass for just the season, maybe he's going to be an overall badass that puts other legendaries to shame. You know, he's running through the forest, you know, he's flying through the forest one day. Entei's like, I don't like this guy. Fuck him. And then Mewtwo just fucking, you know, the flex of his fingers just sends Entei across to the fucking moon.
They could build a series of movies. That would be, okay, fair enough.
So, continuing on, after they have their whole little encounter with Entei, Ash gets his first companion, of course, and that is Verity, the girl who was involved with the Entei fight, the girl who, you know, who they first met at the Pokemon Center, and she's fine. I really don't care for her at all. She's kind of like a cross between Misty and May.
Yeah.
Which both characters I like, but it just means that she didn't really feel that unique to me.
I liked her in the fact that she wasn't dumb.
Yeah.
She knew how to be a trainer.
And even Ash knew a lot more how to be a trainer in this one, which was stunning.
That's true. They did not portray him as a dumb little kid.
Granted, he started the exact same way where he threw the Pokeball at Pidgey. Pidgey broke free. He was like, oh man. He was like, oh right, I got to weaken it first. Rock.
This is Safari Zone.
But as it continues on a little bit, just kind of passing the time, filling the time slots that they have to do, they come across an Onyx where, of course, Verity and Ash ride on its back. And it's rampaging, it's going through on that. And so Zach I don't know what's Zach. So Ash pulls out the greatest maneuver of all time that I've ever seen. PC culture would goddamn love him right now. Because he whips out his fantastic new technique of roadblock protest. Where he jumps in front of the Onyx, gets in its way, holds out his hands, like, I'm not going to let you pass. And the Onyx is like, oh shit, I'm going to take the immediate first exit right here, and he just goes into the ground.
Hang on now. He actually would have got hit if he would have
died
in that whirlpool. Onyx was going, he was full track, and he wasn't about to stop. He was like those drivers that like, I want people to get into the road, so I can go full speed. It was saved by that Piplup. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
With Whirlpool.
I have the right of way. I have the right of way.
But it was incredible. Like, he dives off. He should have broken his ankles.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
For going that fast, jumping that far out, he'd have been dead. Just from the jump.
Hero can't break his legs.
He is not the Rainbow Hero.
Pokemon really threw away the physics that they gave a shit about, like in season 4? I can't remember what it was. I remember there was like one episode intro. I think it was with Dawn. Whatever season that she first was introduced in. Ash, like, he just jumps like 30 feet at a time, and he does this 3 times to stop Team Rocket. And it's just like, oh, okay, I guess this is just a thing now. And they've had it ever since.
Went full on Naruto, huh?
Yeah. He's learned how to be a ninja.
Man. Yeah, no, the Onyx scene was cool, but I think it was filler.
Yeah.
It was. I feel like they just did it as build up, just like a plot element.
See,
right,
one thing I noticed about this
so
movie...
He has the power to stop, or, love Pokemon and stop them from being angry.
It does have a callback that comes to later on, which I'll leave that for later when we get to it.
That's fine. The thing that I was annoyed with, so in the first movie how they had those like transitions, like trio, like those. They tried to do that, but in the scene. Like, there was a moment, and I think it might be in the future, it doesn't really matter, where a Star-You and a Starmie jump, and they just go, Star-You, Starmie! Clearly you're transitioning.
Yeah.
Like, so they were in my, I don't know. It felt like that was just kind of what the whole Onyx thing was just a long, drawn-out transition.
Then you're probably right.
Oh, shit, I gotta find rain. Or, I gotta find shelter from the rain.
And, which... That's the next part of what they do, is they go and find shelter from the rain. And, of course, who is inside the cave with them? Sorrel, the gentleman who they fought the Entei with, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So your opinions on Sorrel?
He's cool. I know he's probably your favorite because he has Lucario, and that's clearly your favorite Pokemon. But I'm calling BS. I know he's aspiring to be a professor, but his, like, one and only Pokemon's Lucario. And I get it. He explains his story, how he had whatever that big giant thing is. I can't remember the name of the Pokemon that took care of him. But then everything was better once Lucario found me. Shut up. You mean you didn't find one Pidgey? You didn't find one Rattata?
They wouldn't get enough.
Shut the hell up.
Need more.
So as opposed to the typical trainer, of course, Sorrel is, more of the
He's
Pokemon breeder type. He's more of the educator, he's trying to learn about Pokemon. He is very much a Brock character.
He is Brock, but they didn't want to use Brock.
Anything you want to say on him, Mike?
I was going to roll back because I can't remember if...
Motherfucker, what?
Before or after.
How do you know about this? That's after. Charmander is after.
That's after. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too much to say. Like, yeah, I was the same thing. I was like, okay, well, we've got like a Misty-ish character and a Brock-ish character. That's what we got here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. The whole reason why I really like Sorrel, he's okay with my book, it's because of Lucario. I love Lucario.
I didn't like that, but I understand their reasoning. It makes sense, sort of, but not in a Pokemon world.
Again, with just a grain of salt. At the very least, like at minimum, I appreciated that they gave them some sort of backstory, because I think it would have been worse. I would probably been really mad if they just, here's these two characters and I don't know anything about them, and now they're your companions where these other people were supposed to be.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
But so in the cave with them, of course, who enters in the rain throughout the night? Entei.
Oh wait,
Charmander was before.
Charmander was before. You're right. My notes are mixed up here. I must have taken a bad note.
So we'll go back before the cave. So we go back to that iconic Charmander scene where we also see Cross again, and Charmander.
No, this is when you're introduced to Cross.
You're right. You're right. So you're introduced to Cross because you see a Charmander being left out in the rain. As we all know from the iconic story, if his flame goes out, Charmander dies. And so we see Cross, and Charmander runs after him, and pretty much was like, well, he's weak, I don't want him. And Ash is like, that's no way to treat a Pokemon. Friendship is the way. And, well, he gets Charmander. But I like this version more than the original. I thought it added more depth to the Charmander.
I think Cross is much better than Charmander's owner in the classic Pokemon. He's not just that New Yorker piece of shit kind of character.
Yep. Joey Wheeler.
Of course, he's, Cross is the evil villain, blah, blah, blah. He's the rival, whatever you want to call him. But I realized he's pretty much me when I play video games of Pokemon. I'm not trying to befriend my Pokemon. It's like, I'm not trying to level them up equally. I just have one Pokemon, one or two, that I'm just power leveling. And they are my team. Every other Pokemon in my team, they are fodder to revive them. Should the worst happen. That is all it is.
See, I thought they used this as a great allusion to like how trainers are now in the games. EV trainers and those who just play the game. Clearly Cross wanted the best of the best, where Ash is like, if it goes in the Pokeball, it goes in the Pokeball. Like,
yeah, it was, because this one was a little different, because like in the original one, like the guy, oh, Charmander's a little bit stronger now, let me come back. He was like, nah, this Pokemon is weak. I already tried it. I'm moving on. He ain't try to come back for it.
Yep. But so we're going back to the cave.
Yeah.
Entei's there. Entei actually walks into the cave with a whole bunch of Pokemon. Clearly, like, he is the ruler, as we all come to know. And they actually tell the story, don't they, at that point?
Real quick, they do. But I want to mention, when Entei's walking into the cave, he looks at them all. He just eyes them, like, up and down, like, yeah, what the fuck are you gonna do about this, huh? And he's got his squad rolling up behind him.
He could eat them if he wanted.
Yeah.
Well, you noticed they were all gone when he left, yeah? Makes you think, like...
That Pokemon's gotta eat.
They eat something. Like...
They don't have cows in Pokemon. They've got
they got Mareep.
Miltanks. You want some lamb chops? You want some cow?
But that's where we learn the legend of Entei and Raikou. Well, they call him Raikou in this movie for some reason, but Raikou and Suicune and Ho-Oh, and just the whole legend behind that Ho-Oh actually created Entei, Suicune, and Raikou.
Sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
So when Entei tells the story, it's about how this big tower, was like a Pokemon sanctuary, and then lightning struck it. It caught on fire, and then the water put out the fire, and that was, the lightning was Raikou, the fire was Entei, the water is Suicune. Was that Bellsprout Tower?
Yes.
See, that's what I thought too.
Because I don't remember Gold and Silver that much, and seeing that brought up, those little things I really enjoy. I really enjoyed that.
They had a lot of allusions to the originals and just things that if you were watching from our generation, you wouldn't recognize almost immediately, just like that Bellsprout Tower. So I thought that was pretty cool, but that's also where we truly learn the point that whoever has the feather, who Ash Alson's like, you mean this one? Like, convenient.
Okay.
Like, oh my God. Anyway.
And when he pulls out that feather, I love how immediately Sorrel's like, oh my, that's the Rainbow Wing! It's like, motherfucker, what? How do you know about this? Does Ho just do this once a year?
Not to skip too far ahead, but I honestly thought, like, this is somewhat of a common occurrence if that old dude is there and he knows so much about it.
Like, well, I bring that up too.
That, and Cross also knew about it.
I also mentioned that.
So, but let's just keep going.
So then they leave the cave, they go into this town where they start having like a series of Pokemon battles.
It's like a montage.
Pretty much. But I just want to admire real quick, Pikachu throws a Snorlax
Yes.
like 50 feet into the air.
Iron Tail.
What the fuck?
He got slammed too. Like he was on top of him. Like I was like, what? I can tell he got a level up. His skill does not do 60 damage. It does like 200. That's the damage modifier in that.
But
Fucking
there was a
Pikachu,
lot
man.
of things. I mean, it was just alluding back to almost like Yu-Gi-Oh! BS. Of like, well, I'm going to do this, and this is how it's going to work.
Duelist
Like
Kingdom,
with the tides of the moon, and I don't know. And they were kind of getting into that kind of stuff, but in essence, it was a montage that you can see, okay, Ash and his friends are becoming friends.
And then it finally really wraps up when he fights Cross again.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
And
Ash reveals Charmeleon.
What?
It's like, oh man, that's cool.
Still
but then
weak.
Ash gets his ass handed to him. He loses the fight. And then, as much as you want to say, like, up at this point, Ash is preaching friendship and all that, he fucking loses his mind when he loses this fight.
He goes full on baby.
Yeah, he's like, oh, let me just throw these Pokemon away. Pikachu, go fuck yourself. Friends, never heard that word before. I'm gonna go leave.
Adios. I'm out.
Sayonara. And then Pikachu gets pissed. Oh, man.
And you see, I don't think this is the first time. I think the first time you saw Marshadow was in the cave, but this time you see Marshadow being a little bit more sinister.
So is that a legendary?
I don't think so.
Like, why is that thing like the all-powerful Shadow?
I don't know what relation that had, but that's a Gen 7 Pokemon.
I knew it was a newer Pokemon, but I didn't think it was a legendary.
I don't know enough about Gen 7, honestly.
Same.
But, so yeah, you see that, and you learn that, if Marshadow touches the feather, it will lose its rainbow essence.
It's not Marshadow touching it. It's if the person feeling it starts to be evil.
Yeah. And that's kind of this is where I actually like this. Dark Ash. I thought was cool. He gets sucked into his own dreams or whatever.
Which the dream was weird. It was very like Japanified.
Yes.
Because I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't think I keep saying Zach instead of Ash. I'm sorry. I don't think Ash has ever been to school.
Oh, 100%.
All of a sudden,
see,
he's
the
in this
thing is,
classic school.
He was in class, and Professor Oak is the teacher with 1 million students, even though Palatown, as we all know, has like 3 houses. Technically 2 houses with 1 lab. Anyway, so you see that, but then also it's like it reminded me very much of like Naruto all depressed on the rooftop, staring outside of a chain link fence, which happened. And then his friends come up, no, buddy. Trying to make him happy, and he's like, I just miss my old pal. And they're like, what old pal? And then you're like, whoa. It was like, okay, this is a very depressing moment in Ash's life. Like, he's 10. Why is he having these come to Jesus meetings?
Ash is 40 years old, Zach. Let's be real here.
Now.
This is the time loop.
It's time loop. So then Pikachu pretty much guides him back to reality, Of course, Ash is chasing after this Pikachu, this old image of his friend. He sees buildings start crumbling in front of him. The world is falling apart. And he just very much jumps off. Like, he dedicates himself to this Pikachu. Props to Ash for following his insanity. Not many people do that. You typically read about that. I'm not going to get into that joke. I was going to make a Bible joke. But then Ash is brought back to reality thanks to Pikachu.
Yep. And essentially they kind of move on, and again, it's almost like a short little montage of them traveling some more. And they come to, I think it's a Poke Center. It looks more like a hotel/hostel. I'm not really sure. Well, they open the book and they start doing research again on where they need to go with this feather, because clearly it's important. Duh.
It's definitely not just a fallen feather or anything.
I guess. And so they learn they need to go to, I can't remember the name of the mountain range.
I don't know. And, like Rainbow Mountain.
Rainbow Mountain. And this is where they start going into the woods. And it comes to the Butterfree scene. The classic Butterfree scene.
Good,
where was the emotion?
It was there.
I teared up. At this point, it was like, okay, bye.
There was emotion there, but it was definitely a much smaller amount. Where
No,
No,
go
yeah.
ahead.
and so where it's pretty much Ash is like, all right, here's the Butterfree. There's all the Butterfree flying around. Hey, here's my Butterfree. Oh, there's that Butterfree that you saved. Okay, now they want to bang. Uh, I don't want to let this Butterfree go, but I mean, I guess I will.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye, Ash. Now I'm gonna go get some butterfly poon.
I should have made him talk too. Oops, too soon.
Dude, don't even. Oh, I hated that.
We'll get there.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, but my only thing is like, yes, it did bother me a little bit. I felt like they could have done a better job expressing more emotion.
Mhm.
But for me again, I'm gonna keep rolling back to it. It was the nostalgia thing. Like they probably didn't have enough time. They were just trying to throw this like 5 to 10 minutes into this scene, just to remind you, like, yeah, this happened. Like, you remember this. You remember you. I guess for the people who watched it before, you remember all the times he spent with Caterpie and Metapod and Butterfree. But if you just first time watching the movie, you didn't get all that. So there wasn't much you could feel from that except for what you see what they were trying to do.
Yeah. On its standalone, it really doesn't feel like that emotional of a moment. It's 100% a moment that's thrown in there purely for the nostalgia. So that way you can be like, oh, I remember this. Oh, this is sad.
I've said all I need to say. I wanted the tears.
So then they continue and they make their way towards this mountain range where they meet this old man named Bonji, who has spent his whole life studying ancient Pokemon, studying Ho-Oh specifically, pretty much. And he is like getting little hints and pieces. He's like, all I need is to find a trainer who's gotten that Ho-Oh feather. And Ash is like, oh, I set out on my journey like 2 weeks ago. You mean this thing?
My
As
whole
Ash,
life.
he just pulls out his entitled little like heiress ass. God.
I saw it on my first day.
What did you say?
Spent
He saw it on his
5
first.
years.
But, okay, and this is kind of where you can clearly tell, okay, the movie's coming to an end, right? And so they're on the mountain, and clearly everything's going to go right. Everything always has to go right. Well, he has the feather, he's on the mountain, and you learn, when it sprouts a mountain flower, I can't remember the name of it, a Ho-Oh flower. Whoever has the feather is supposed to go put it on there, and it will call Ho-Oh, and the trainer can battle Ho-Oh. Fantastic. And if he catches Ho-Oh, he gets to be the Rainbow Hero. Just that simple. You have esteemed the name Rainbow Hero. Fantastic. No perks come with it. You get a stupid title and accolade.
You've taken a god out of the world. You're going to send it into chaos for your title and power. Congratulations.
But, as we said, everything goes perfectly. And this stupid little ghost thing, I can't remember the name right now. Marshadow gets a hold of the feather. Well, Cross steals the feather.
Before we even get to that being there, Ash, there's this old man who's been spending his whole life studying this Ho-Oh area. There's Ash, who's been brought there because they did some research and because they've got this lucky little feather here. What the fuck is Cross doing there?
He's in the library too.
It's true.
But why would he be researching that? Why would he be coming to this area? He has no reason to other than plot.
He does say in the movie that he saw it on his first day as well, or like the same time we presume as Ash did. And he's like, he didn't give me the feather, so I need to be strongest one in the world. Gets all roided up.
It didn't give me what I want, so I'm gonna kick its ass.
You took my job. So Cross is there. He steals the feather after. Go ahead.
Him and Ash have a grand Pokemon battle, and Ash finally beats him. His Charizard versus I don't even remember Cross's Pokemon's name.
I don't even know the name of that thing. I know one of them is like Lunar Claw thing.
I don't remember.
Oh, well, I had it.
Again, Gen 7.
Yeah, Gen 7 trash.
But it's a giant tiki torch,
trash,
pretty
sorry.
much. Tiki torch. He's like,
Incineroar. There you go.
Charizard versus Incineroar. He finally wins. It's like, all right, now I'm gonna go take this feather and I'm gonna put it on this rock. And so Cross, like you're saying, steals the feather. And it said that right then it's officially revealed, if someone who is evil holds this feather, this little 12-year-old who is the incarnate of evil apparently stole this feather and it is now just brimming with evil aura. It is, it's not. It's clearly not the true feather that detects evil. It's detecting teen angst. Takes it, goes and puts it up on the rock, and then you can take it from there.
yeah, and that's where Marshadow is like, "Hey, I'm now a god surging with evil essence," and clearly it turns all the other Pokemon against him, and there's a big old battle between all the Pokemon. It is pretty cool. It's a cool battle.
Just mind controlling all those Pokemon. Jesus Christ! I mean, that's evil.
It's just like Mewtwo, that thing where he had evil clones.
Well, he made clones though, like they were genetically created to be evil, as opposed to those ones where it's like, I'm good and I love the world. Fuck it all. All right, Mike, what you were trying to say?
I was gonna say it. Like I like how they started off like when you saw that battle, like before the battle, the old dude was like, Marshadow is just an observer. And then it turns from observer to like, all right, now I'm gonna leave these people and I guess I'm gonna kill you guys now. Like, all right, that's cool too.
Which is brutal as fuck. It's like he just literally says, Bungie says, the Pokemon are now trying to kill all the other Pokemon and trainers. It's like, oh god.
They do bring a new death element into Pokemon in this movie. But essentially, it's discovered that only the Rainbow Hero or whoever was chosen can stop all this from happening. So, of course, Ash is like, I got it. And he just starts running at the thing. He's doing some Matrix moves around all these Pokemon and jumping around. And, well, essentially, Pikachu and him end up getting in a fight. Not Pikachu and
Marshadow.
Yeah, Pikachu and Marshadow get in a fight.
Which Marshadow now has the power of God because of this feather, but Pikachu can still hold his own. I mean, he did throw that Snorlax all the way into the fucking air. It's clear that Pikachu is the strongest Pokemon in the universe.
Yes. If you haven't learned that from watching every episode and watching Ash time travel, you have learned nothing.
So, if you want to continue, Connor, because I don't have the notes in front of me for that part.
Okay, so pretty much they just have their little epic battle. Cross starts trying to be a good guy, doing everything he can to save his Pokemon. This bastard child who is evil incarnate. What a piece of shit, trying to save his fucking friends. Ugh. Sorry. Just have to touch back on that. Pikachu ends up fainting. Quote unquote fainting. He ends up being beaten. And Ash is now facing an army of these mind-controlled Pokemon of Marshadow that are all charging up their little Kamehameha moves to launch at Ash and Pikachu to end them out. And of course, this is the callback moment. This is the callback Onyx moment. What is it that Ash does? He pulls out his patented roadblock protest maneuver.
All right, I just want to chime in there. So, I like it. So he actually did do that in the first episode. In the very first episode, when he was Pikachu was down on the ground, he was like had his arms out against the Spearows. So I like that, but like again, like going back to like, all right, if this is my first time seeing this movie, I'm like, what are you doing? That's stupid. That's stupid, man. Get out of here. Take the Pikachu, get out, don't stand in front of him, grab him, go that way.
You've been doing these Matrix dodges all the way up to this point. Where is it now?
So anyway, what happens is him and Pikachu both end up getting blasted with these Kamehamehas, seismic disc, whatever Krillin else has, and just gets hit by all this stuff, and they're laying on the ground. And this is the stupidest scene of this stupid movie, because Pikachu can all of a sudden talk. Because really I never want to leave you, Ash. Shut the hell up.
By the way, apparently Pikachu's a girl. Is that what I'm getting from that as well, or is it just?
I mean, I guess. But that was so stupid. It was not needed. Because I never want to leave you.
It really took me out of the moment. Like with that first time, I was just like, what?
Yeah, I was
What
like,
the fuck?
I was so weirded out by that. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, it took me out of the moment. I was like, and then I was like, what? What did you just say?
It was just not needed.
The only argument that I could even begin to consider for it is like, you know how, of course, the trainer, they start to understand their Pokemon. Maybe that's just from Ash's perspective. Maybe that's how he hears Pikachu, like a true lunatic that he is. Maybe that's what it is, but it's still just really unsettling when you first hear that. Mm-hmm.
But so things progress after this stupid little dialogue that they have.
And then Ash fucking dies.
He does die. He legitimately dies.
No,
He fucking dissolves. He gets fucking Thanos.
He becomes more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Now
and I thought that was cool. I thought it was cooler than him turning into like pretty much a piece of rock or a gingerbread cookie.
I preferred the rock.
It was more. It was cooler to have all the tears bring him back to life, not just I'm in the same depressed world. Pikachu's there again. I live. Like,
and that's what happens. Is he's back into the upside down, into his ultimate dream world, and then all of a sudden, through the power of Nakuma, through the power of friendship, Pikachu cheers him on. Oh, and also when Ash fucking dies, I also wanted to touch on this. Pikachu channels his power of friendship into his lightning attack. He releases a lightning blast so powerful it frees all Pokemon of mind control, defeats Marshadow, and ends a fucking storm. Ends like a fucking hurricane. Blue skies right after. Yeah.
Without any casualties, without harming anyone. That is a feat.
It's true.
I don't think any Pokemon has been capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So Ash ultimately comes back, and he ends up taking the feather from Marshadow and plants it on the leaf, and you see a giant rainbow sprout from the flower, and here comes Ho-Oh, and everyone's in awe. The old man is, I don't know, probably rumbling his giblets. And then Ho-Oh comes in, he's like, I'm going to fight you now. You're mine, kid.
We're finally here. I challenge you to a Pokemon battle.
Man, and
Ho-Oh's okay. He's like, all right, let's fucking do this.
We fight this trainer. He's got 3 badges.
He's got 3 Pokemon.
I gave you this feather 2 weeks ago. You think you can fight me? Yeah.
But so they clearly battle, and it seems like they battle for a long time. And the next moment you see is Ash bringing in Pikachu, and Pikachu's fine. He's just scuffed up. Okay, and then you see the old man. And he's like, well, I guess I'll wait around for the next rainbow hero. Which means the whole plot of the movie didn't even happen. Ash was supposed to be the rainbow hero, and he wasn't. The whole movie is pointless.
What's up, Mike?
No, I was going to say, or maybe alternatively, like he is the rainbow hero, but there are multiple rainbow heroes.
For 10 seconds?
That's
Rainbow
possible.
Brigade? Like, I guess he gets the title like in an MMO. He can change his new thing from novice to rainbow hero. Get a new like a level 99 cape or something from RuneScape. Like, what do you want? A prize? You didn't even get to capture the thing.
I like to think that the old man is just sitting up there. Is like, all right, that kid's now done. Now I'm gonna go to the bottom of this mountain where another kid's gonna come up here. We're gonna do it all over again.
They're actually making a killing off this. They manufacture rainbow wings.
Amusement park.
If you go to the Pokemon Mall, then you'll just see like hundreds of the fucking feathers.
Yeah, probably you will now. But so, and then it kind of just has its typical ending. The friends saying all goodbye. Hey, I'm gonna go learn about Moltres, and Lugia, and Articuno, and Zapdos. And you got Verity, who's like, I'm gonna go see my mom.
Which she did bring it up earlier. It's like me and my mom, we never got to know each other. Like really, my mom, she always like looks down on me that I can never. I'm always living in her shadow.
Yep. And it's just the typical ending.
Which I actually really liked it because it paralleled Brock and Misty leaving. with the exact same like grassy split
Yes.
path ending.
And so now we kind of get to the ending theme in the credits, and it does allude. It shows pictures. I watched the whole credits just to be sure. Showed all the pictures of all his previous friends, all his previous travel. So it might allude to it in the future, like, hey, you might see a Misty character, you might see a Brock character. Who knows what's going to happen? But I have to say that has been my favorite song. I think it was a fantastic song, and I'm gonna link it in the description because I want people to hear it. I might put in a little snippet of it or something,
Yeah, that's what
whatever
I
I
say. Put in a
can
snippet.
legally do. But it is so good. But there's one thing before any of you talk that I want to bring up. There's one thing that none of us brought up in this entire podcast so far about Pokemon. Team Rocket. You want to know why? Because in this entire flippin' movie, they were just there for comic relief. They had nothing to do. They didn't interfere with anything like Team Rocket does. They were there as, hey, these guys are on the wanted list. Okay, then you see them every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was stupid. They should have just left them out.
I'm not gonna lie. I was excited when I saw them, and then they're like, "Oh, you're not like actually doing anything. You
No.
just see it."
Oh, there's an Entei. Let's go find him. They never find him. Oh, there's a Ho-Oh up here. Let's go find. Oh, we fell down a cliff.
What happened to
All right.
Well, then,
Like get beat up by some primate. Like
Jesse sounds similar. Or James is like, hey, yo.
And they went with
Meowth
like
is
what
like
the
a
current
gangster
voice
mob
actors
boss.
are. Oh, yeah, that's kind of always what Meowth has been. The voice is different, but that's what like the current English dubs are, which is what they, of course, are doing.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, ultimately, things that were resembled, I do feel like in the end, Cross did become like N because he ends up helping the hero. And in the end, it has the same theme from the first movie and the first season of Pokemon is friendship trumps evil.
Yeah. Cross feels a lot more like a Paul to me, which I don't know if you're familiar with Paul. I think he was the villain or the quote unquote rival character of his journeys with May. Where he was very much just like that, like power, it's like a Game of Thrones moment. It's like, knowledge is power. And then he like pulls out his Pokemon. It's like, no, power is power. And then ends up being like, all right, you beat me. I'll admit, there might be something to what you're saying.
Sure. All right. Well, any last thoughts on the movie before we get to what our rating is?
I think we're
any final comments?
My final comment is, I guess this might be better. I'll save it till my judgment.
All right. Well, I'll just start it just on the order of my screen. Mike, hot or swap?
It's hot for me.
Okay.
Do you want to explain anything as to why?
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like I said, overall, like there were the moments that we discussed where, Pikachu talking. That was it was a big like, yeah. But overall, like the biggest part for me was the nostalgia moments. Like that's pretty much what held the movie for me. And I like that they tried to incorporate like all these new things just to help like people who've just gotten into it or like your kids, teenagers, not too familiar with the old stuff to kind of mesh all those together to bring them Pokemon basically. So it was hot for me. If I had to rate it, it'd be like I would say at least an 8. Yeah.
Okay, so hot for Mike. Connor, what about you? Hot or swap?
I would also say hot. It's very much like Mike said. You need to take it with a grain of salt. You're going in there. Odds are you're going in for a combination of you love Pokemon and you're new to it, maybe, or you're nostalgic and you're looking for something familiar. They add a lot of nostalgia. They add a lot of what's new. I think they do a pretty good job of blending in what is currently good about Pokemon and what was previously good about Pokemon, and I think it makes a really good balance. I would say 7 out of 10 if you give it a number rating.
Surprisingly enough for me, I am going to rate it hot as well. So after everything I've said, how much I hated about this movie, but looking at it as just a movie, it's a good movie. I mean, it really is. It's a decent movie. They're like the Pikachu scene is stupid as shit. But when I'm looking at this movie, I can't relate it to what I wanted it to be because every director is going to do things how they want it to be. And I was expecting a remake of the Pokemon I knew and love, and they were just kind of revamping it, newer graphics, and it's not that. If that's what you want out of it, you're gonna absolutely not want to watch this. But if
Watch
you're looking
Pokemon
for
Origins if that's what you're looking for.
Pokemon Origins is good. But ultimately, I'm going to rate this hot. So I think it's a hot swappable gaming consensus that Pokemon I Choose You is hot. And we all recommend you go watch it. One thing I will say, you know, being the ending of the first episode, we want to hear from you guys what you guys want us to watch and do a review on. What's your favorite shows that you like? Something that possibly we've never even heard of because you found it on the deep, dark parts of YouTube. I mean,
You
we'll
want us to
watch it.
view something classic like, an OG Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the first few episodes with that. And I guess we should clarify, with shows, we're probably going to only review the first, 2 to 3 episodes, most
At
likely.
most.
And just see whether or not we'd continue it and judge it differently from there. Where movies, we'd watch the entirety of it.
Yep.
But from any genre at all, from anime to drama to horror to anything.
In the future, we will want to move on to gaming and games and like review the newest games. You know, it'd be cool if we could set up partnerships. But again, that just requires money and, well, a partnership. So, but I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for joining us.
And, of course, gonna, do the thing that all good YouTubers have to do. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Ring that bell for notifications if you want to be updated to our content as soon as it comes out. Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Adios.
Later.
A special thank you to our patrons for going the extra mile for us. Thanks to you, we can start the process of making more content that we love for you to enjoy.